You wonder about saturation, value, and hue and what all that means? Today I'm going to answer a question from a follower. So FAL Forethought asks this question. How can we make our colors more or less saturated or change the value and change the hue? I'm Pat from Scrivener Art and Design, and I love answering your questions. So let's see if I can offer some clarification for you on this one. So saturation. Saturation is the pigment load in your paint. So you can't really make it more saturated than it already is. You can buy better quality paint. So an artist grade paint is going to be better than a student grade paint, and a student grade paint is going to be better than a craft paint. So it can be to do with the type of pigment in the paint as well as the amount of pigment and filler. So when it comes to artist paint, you kind of get what you pay for. And it's fine to practice with lesser quality paints, but you will find the saturation is much better on the artist grade paints. Now you can desaturate the colors by adding black to them. That will desaturate them. You can also add the opposite, the complement. So whatever's across on the color wheel will desaturate the color. So think that if you're trying to make a green a little less in your face, a little more natural, adding a touch of red to it is going to desaturate it and make it feel a little bit more like the outdoors. So desaturation, we want some of each in our paintings. We don't necessarily want everything all very saturated. When we add some desaturated colors, it actually makes the saturated colors stand out more because of the contrast between the two. So keep that in mind as well. So to answer your question about value and hue, well, value is the lightness or darkness of color. And you can buy a value scale. You can probably get an app as well that will show you the value. You can turn your painting into black and white on your phone and just take a look at your values. Do you have very light and very dark, or are you sitting in the mid-tones? Painting all in the mid-tones is generally not that exciting. So take a look at your value and see if you can work on increasing it. And some colors might surprise you where they sit on the value scale. So that can be an interesting exercise to figure out which colors read darker and which ones read lighter. So normally a yellow is always going to come out as a light value on your painting, as an example. So hue refers to the actual color name of the color. So a red, a blue, a green, those are all your hues. And then you can make tints and tones out of your hues. So when you take a color and add white to it, you're making a tint. And you can think of that more as a pastel color usually. And you can add black to make a tone. And that's going to gray down your color and shift it to a darker value. So you can actually make value scales of your different colors to be able to see how this works. It's a very effective exercise to study value and how your colors shift in value. I have a video on that, on value. I'll link it in the description below so you can check it out as well. So a few pro tips are: don't overmix your colors because they will become overmixed and feeling duller. But you can also experiment with adding color. So in other words, if you want your orange to be, or sorry, your red to become a lighter color of red, you can add some orange into it or a bit of yellow into it and push it lighter. If you add white, what are you going to get? You're going to get a tint. Your red is going to become pink. So you might not want a pink, but you want a different red. So try shifting it with orange or yellow. Use a color wheel. A color wheel is your friend. And unless you have one on your brain at all times, it's really handy to have one in your studio and look at it and watch it. You can experiment with glazes. So a glaze is a thin layer of transparent paint that you put over top of another color. So you will be optically shifting the color right on your canvas. So you're not actually mixing that color in your palette, but you're optically mixing it on your canvas. So I encourage you to make color charts and practice color mixing. Keep to a very simplified palette is going to help you a lot, no matter what those colors are. But I like to work with 3 primaries of some sort, but I change them up all the time. So it's valuable to spend the time. And I would encourage you to get a sketchbook and start to work with the colors you have and see what they can do and how you can mix them so you understand the tints and the tones, the transparency, the opacity. Good quality artist paint have a transparency chart on them, but if they don't, you can easily make your own by drawing a line with a felt pen and just putting a bit of paint over it. So I hope that was helpful. And if you have any more questions, please let me know in the comments. I'm happy to share my knowledge.